Hey guys, last weekend we had Southern Assault 3 here at Atomic Empire. This was the first Southern Assault I've been able to go to. The first two were on the other side of the state and I just wasn't able to make the drive out. So it was pretty fun, and you got 5 battle reports coming your way. The first one's going to be Battleline, Orcs versus Warriors. Southern Assault used the Swedish comp system in order to basically give you your appearance for the first couple of rounds. I like some comp, but I think the first few years, like of 6th and 7th when we were playing this, we had so much comp around here. I think it just gave me like a burnout from it. And I just don't like so much comp all the time. It's okay once in a while, but I just don't want to have like a regular habit of having so much Swedish comp or making it become a norm. And personally I think the founding fathers would be pretty upset they were using Swedish comp to determine our Warhammer battles. I mean, take, Washington crossing into Delaware, for instance. Would he even be able to do it under Swedish comp? I mean, look at these comp hits. Minus 100 for the boats, minus 15 for upgrading Washington to a level 4, minus 10 for each star on the flag. It's ridiculous. And if it was up to Swedish comp, we would have lost the Revolutionary War and we'd all be speaking English right now. And I don't know about you guys. I mean, I like Tom Geter and everything, but do we all want to talk good like him? I mean, that would be great, but, at what price? I mean, freedom isn't free. It's a minus 250 comp hit. And now I got those Swedish comp right out of the way, I want to say I think I really enjoyed not seeing any Demon Princes or double chimeras on the table this weekend. Ugh, talking nice about Swedish comp gives me a bad taste in my mouth. Let's never speak about this again. So on to the old list here. As you can see, I still got a level 4, still had a BSB, had my backup Shaman. I took my big boss with Magic Resistance 2, and it actually worked out pretty well, as you'll see. I've got the gigantic spider guy because it's it's a small comp hit. Regular biggins instead of savages because it's a smaller comp hit. And one of my opponents wondered why I had regular goblins and not night goblins. And now I explained to them the only reason we had the night goblins is because I don't have 2 units of goblins painted really well, and night goblins without any upgrades are somehow comp hit more than goblins, which makes no sense. Now let's take a look at my opponent's army. He's playing Warriors of Chaos. He's got a tooled up Chaos Lure, which is going to be really difficult for me to try to kill even with magic. He's got Exalted BSB. This is on a mount that's going to be in the Troll, so it's going to probably be easier to kill, I figure, because he doesn't get a Lookout Sir roll. And his sorcerers are only level 2 and level 1, but he has Death Magic, and he's got Doom of Darkness, so because he's also going to have a Hell Cannon, I know this is going to be one of those, Hell Cannon, Doom of Darkness combos that's going to be really scary, because I don't have Savages, I have regular Biggins, so we have to take a lot of leadership tests. And then he has Chariots, and he has 6 Trolls like me, and just 3 Skull Crushers. His comp comes out to a 9.5, but rounds up to a 10, versus my 8.5, which rounds up to a 9. So we're fairly balanced comp-wise. Here we have a couple pictures during setup. As you can see, while he was deploying, he was mainly deploying around this little building here. He put his warriors and 3 characters inside of it, and then he has Trolls with his BSB right next to it, and his Chaos Knights and his Hell Cannon behind it. So since he was putting so much there, I was starting to defensively deploy around this hill, and it pretty much was set up here to be the defensive battle, which is really weird for Orcs and Goblins versus Warriors. And this is just a closer up picture of his deployment. I really like the blue tone to his warriors and his trolls and everything. It's real nice and soothing. And here's a quick picture after my vanguards. I was vanguarded up just enough to try to keep him from having an easy charge of his chariots here. If he had charged with the chariot on the right of my wolves, I was pretty much going to hold. And if he made it, my mangler was right there to try to take care of that chariot. This is Warriors turn 1. He really has no charges. He moves up his chariots and his knights and skull crushers a bit. When we're going into magic, he gets I think it's the flaming sword on his Hell Cannon, and he tries to put Doom and Darkness on my biggin unit. I have to burn my Staff of Stability to keep that from going off. Going into shooting, he gets his Hell Cannon on my biggins, kills a few, I have to pass my 8 with a reroll leadership test, and I'm able to do it. Basically, if I fail at this point, the game's over on the first turn. And this is just a quick picture of the right side of the battlefield showing where most of the armies are. Going in Orc and Goblin turn 1 now, I really have no charges. Both my Wolf Riders, they would have had like front charges to his chariots, and I pretty much figured I would still lose both of those battles, and I didn't want to have my Wolf Riders taken out really easily like that. So I moved my Wolf Riders up to the flanks of those chariots, basically hoping I could get charges on them later. Send one of my Manglers at his knights, but it doesn't make it. And otherwise, I don't really move up my main block some. I probably should have moved them a little bit, but with those knights pretty close to where you see the Mangler in that picture, didn't really want to charge up in there and then be stuck where he could have a charge on me. So I pretty much was hanging back at this point. So when we go into Magic, I'm able to get Fist of Gork off of my Great Shaman, and I try to get a Foot of Gork off on him. I think I'd get it to pass, but it scatters, doesn't really do anything, and then I think right after that it just goes away. When we're going to shooting, this is where things get really good for me. I shoot both my Chuckles on the hill to his knights. One of the Chuckles hits and kills one knight, and then I realize, why am I not shooting my Doom Divers at his knights? So I shoot my first Doom Diver at his last 4 knights there. It hits, and it kills all 4 of them, so it like wipes out his knights right off the bat. And so then I have 2 Chuckles left. One of them hits the flank of his Skull Crushers, kills one, and does 2 wounds to the second one. So I'm doing really good to start off this game with my shooting. Going to the Warrior's turn 2, he charges his Skull Crushers at my little Goblin unit, and I flee and get away. He charges his chariot, which you can't see in this picture, on the far right at my archers. I stand and shoot and do 1 wound, and he fails to charge. Then going into his regular movement, he lands his Direwolves on my Mangler and kills them. But since I'd killed his knights, I figured that's okay. Going into Magic, he tries Doom of Darkness again. This time I have to burn my scroll to get rid of it. When we're going into shooting, I think this time he shoots his Hell Cannon at my Ragnarok, and I think it just scatters off completely and does nothing. It's the Orc and Goblins turn 2. I still feel that if I go up too far, I'm being set up for a trap. That he's going to come out of his building and he's going to have a flank on my big guns. And then my Trolls, because he has Flaming Breath and everything, is not really strong enough to hold off those warriors very long. So I'm still kind of passive here. But I do charge my Ragnarok into the flank of his Skull Crushers. And then my remaining Mangler goes through one of his chariots and destroys it. When going to Magic, I try to do a Foot of Gork on his warriors and his Hell Cannon. Is able to touch both of them. I stomp about 3 times, but only one of them doesn't scatter off to hit nothing. And I only manage to kill about 2 warriors. In this combat here, my Ragnarok goes into the flank, and I do absolutely no wounds at all. He strikes back, he does a couple wounds to me. He wins combat. I failed my leadership test, but we have something here in this tournament called War Dice, where you're allowed to re-roll 1 d6 or d3, and you take the second roll. And your opponent can challenge that with a War Dice, and if they roll a 5 up, your dice is taken away. So I re-roll one of my dice here with my War Dice, and I'm able to pass my leadership test. He challenges me but fails, so because I've used my War Dice here, my Ragnarok does not flee and it stays in the combat. And then he just combat reforms to face me. Now we have Warrior's turn 3. He charges his chariot at my archers. I should flee, that's what I was planning to do. And then I was going to countercharge with my Gigantic Spotter. For some reason I stand and shot and I didn't do anything. And so he makes a charge on into me. And then he charges his other chariot, which you can't see in this picture, at my Ragnarok, and he's able to get into the front. When we go into Magic, this time he gets Irresistible Force on Doom of Darkness on my biggins. This is going to be really scary. And then his Charm Shield lets him, when he has his miscast, it lets him ignore the Strength 10 hit I think his Wiz was going to take. So, going into shooting, his Hell Cannon goes right onto my biggins and kills 9 of them. Now I need a Leadership 5 with a reroll test, and I make it. I think I make it on the first roll. I don't even need my reroll. So this game could have been over right here, but I'm going to hope to hold on for another turn. And so when we go into combat, first in another combat, his chariot just wipes up my archers and destroys them. They flee. It chases them off the board. Going to other combat, even with his charge in and his all his other attacks, he only does 2 wounds to my Ragnarok. I do 3 wounds to his chariot and kill 1 wound to his Skullcrusher to kill that one. So this winds up being a 4-4 tie. So that's actually pretty good. Going into Orc and Goblin turn 3, the Wolf Riders you see here behind this like building thing, they decide to feel animosity and make themselves forced to charge the Skullcrusher. Now my Mangler's in front of it, and I didn't think about this at the time. I don't think I'm forced to charge through my own Mangler. I do it here, and the other time I wasn't doing it because I didn't think you could be forced to charge through your own unit. So I just do it here and I don't think about it. So my Wolf Riders of course charge through the Mangler and kill themselves. The other Wolf Riders off the back of the board have a flank into his chariot that's fighting my Ragnarok along with his last Skullcrusher. I try to charge that flank and I fail it. Otherwise, I decided I need to start being more aggressive because of the Hell Cannon things. I can't be so close to the board edge. So I start marching up a lot with my main units, even though I know I'm being set up for a trap here. I just can't afford to have that Doom and Darkness destroy me so easily. Going into Magic, I dispel Doom and Darkness and I try another foot. And this time it just does no damage. It keeps scattering off. And I think he's able to, I think I rolled a 1 once and he's able to land it on me and it scatters mostly off. I don't think it kills any of my guys either. When we go into shooting, I try my Spear Chuckers at basically it is Hell Cannon along with my Doom Divers. I think one Doom Diver blows itself up. I really have no other options. His chariots are either gone or in combat, and he's got a big unit in the building where I'm not really going to do any damage to it. And finally going into the one combat, this time he does break my Ragnarok. I'm down to either 2 or 3 wounds, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm able to get away from the pursuit. He only pursued me with his chariot and he reforms his Skullcrusher so he can face my War Machines that are over there. Now into Warrior's turn 4, and he charges his chariot at my fleeing Ragnarok. And the way the center goes, I'm forced to charge over this building right here. There's like a tree on one side. He thought it was impassable. I thought it was just a building because I saw the tower. So we roll off for it and we decide it's a building. And the only reason this really matters is because I figure since I have Wall Crawler, I don't have to take Dangerous Terrain for going over a building, but I would for impassable. So I think I rolled anyway and I didn't fail it, but we just wanted to see whether it was a building or impassable terrain. So then he redirects into the rear of my little troll chariot. And he charges with his Skullcrusher and towards one of my War Machines, but I think he fails it and doesn't make it. And otherwise he brings his chariot back on where it's right behind my 2 Spear Chuckers here. And I want to note how you see in this picture that it looks like he should charge his trolls and BSB at my Ragnarok and force it to flee again. But at this point he doesn't know whether he's going to make the charge on my trolls. He doesn't know whether they're going to break. And so when my Ragnarok flees, if my trolls are still where they originally were, I would then have a flank into his trolls and his BSBs. So I think it's a good idea for him not to charge my Ragnarok even though it's sitting right in front of him. Because I'm going to flee back over the Dangerous Terrain most likely, or I'm just going to flee over my trolls and my big guns and go behind them. So I'm going to get away, and then he's going to be right where I can charge him. So I think it's a good move for him not to charge me. So now going into Magic, he doesn't get Doom of Darkness off on me this time, but during shooting he does get another Hell Cannon on me. I think I might have killed 1 Orc, but that's enough for a panic test, and I'm able to pass it again. And when we go into combat, his chariot does 5 wounds to my trolls. My last troll cannot do the last wound on his chariot, so I break and flee, and I flee right in front of my biggins here, so I'm kind of blocking my biggins from doing anything to his trolls at all. Now Orc and Goblins turn 4, my biggins are pretty much blocked by that single troll in front of them, so I really can't move up too much. Can't move my trolls up too much because they can't take on all this other stuff by themselves. So I mainly just move my Night Goblins up a little bit. I do rally my Ragnarok and my single troll. Going into Magic, I get off with the irresistible Foot of Gorg. I put it this time on his BSB with his trolls. I figure, you know, both of them have high wards. I mean, I'm not really doing any damage to his warriors. I see at this point he's not really going to take those warriors out until I get really close. So I'm scattering so much, I'm not doing much to them. I figure maybe I can get this BSB. It lands on him. It only scatters a little bit, so it doesn't hit any trolls, but it hits him. He fails his armor save, and then he fails his ward save where he hits at a 4+ ward save, rerolling ones. He rolls a 2. So now all I have to do is roll a 3. A 3 or more, I kill his BSB. I'll roll a 2. Where's my ward dice when I need it? So the result of my miscast is both my casters take strength 6 hit. I don't wound my Great Shaman, but I do wound my level 1 who had the Foot of Gork. So when we go into shooting here, first I take out his last Skull Crusher. That was like my top priority. I do the rest of the shooting that I have at his chariots, mainly the one that's threatening my Spear Chuckers, and I can't wound it. And we have no combat, so we go into Warrior's turn 5. Going to Warrior's turn 5, he does go ahead and take his General's unit out of that building. I guess it's because I've gotten close enough where I'm kind of threatening his trolls. He doesn't charge his trolls at my Ragnarok. I'm not sure why at this point, because my troll's blocking my biggins from getting the easy countercharge. But I guess because I could charge my troll at his chariot, and then my biggins at his trolls after he's pretty much going to kill my Ragnaroks. I guess he was worried about that. But then I would have been leaving my flank open to his warriors after he, I figured he would charge my Night Goblins, wipe them up, and then come in and flanking my biggins. But he doesn't do it, and instead he moves his other chariot back, and he makes no charges at all. Well, actually, he does charge his chariot at my Spear Chucker, but other than that, no other charges. Now we get into the scary stuff. Going into Magic, he gets Doom and Darkness was irresistible again on me. This time, I'm not even sure what his miscast was. I think it was a 7 again. So I think it kills 2 of his warriors, and that's it. Going into shooting, his Hill Cannon hits my biggins again, kills 9 of them. I'm not really combat effective anymore, even if I don't fail this test. I need a 5 with a reroll. I roll a 5 right off the bat. So even if I'm failing with my Foot of Gork, I'm making all these leadership tests. Otherwise, this game would have been over pretty fast. And when Orcs and Goblins turn 5, at this point, I know I really can't beat his blocks. I don't think I could have beat that Chaos Lord anyway. So I'm more or less trying to play it for a tie. So I do charge my Troll at his chariot, and it fails the charge. I move my Ragnarok away from his Trolls. I'm kind of trying to tempt him into charging my biggins. I know he's not really going to do it, because even depleted, I think my biggins can still maybe have a chance to take on his Trolls. I mean, I'm going to lose a lot of Orcs, but at this point I'll be steadfast and I can countercharge my Trolls, whereas if I charge into him, my Trolls wouldn't be there, so that's why I was afraid his warriors would come in and flank me. So now I move my Night Goblins up to block his warriors, just trying to hold them off from being able to come into my units. And so when we go into Magic, this time I get Irresistible off on Foot of Gork again, trying to kill his BSB. I know that maybe can swing the draw into my favor. I hit him, but he makes his ward. And then my miscast, if the spell goes away, then my miscast, I think it's either small or big template over my level 1's head. I kill my level 1, so I lose Foot of Gork. I think I kill a couple of biggins, but it doesn't really matter. Going into shooting, I can't take out his chariots, and there's really no combat. No combat other than his chariot destroying my last Spirit Chucker that was on that hill. Going into Warrior's turn 6, he's not falling into any of my traps. So he just charges his chariot at my single troll and his other chariot at the rear of my gigantic spider. So when we go into Magic this time, he gets he doesn't get Doom and Darkness off of me this time. I don't think he really gets much of anything. I think it was one of those roll low, like 2 or 3 Magic Phase dices. And going into shooting, I think this time he just does the Hell Cannon on my Ragnarok, and I think he's just trying to kill the Ragnarok, and it scatters off and does nothing. So when I go into combat, he kills my single troll, and I was really hoping since I had a 2+ armor, I would be able to hold out against that chariot. But my gigantic spider guy, he gets broken and runs off the board. And going into Orc and Goblin turn 6, I really want to combo charge my Biggins and my Ragnarok into his trolls with BSB. But I know that it's such a long charge for my Biggins that my Ragnarok will definitely make it, but then it'll die if my Biggins don't make it in. So I just charge my Biggins because I figure, what the heck, I might as well go for it. I feel like now he's got it slightly in his favor, but he might be able to kill one of my characters, but I should still be steadfast. I should still hold, but I failed the charge. So I have no real magic that can do much to him. I think I'd try to do a Brain Burster at his BSB, and it really does no damage. And going into shooting, I have one Spirit Chucko, one Doom Diver, just trying to kill that chariot with one wound, and I'm not able to do it, and that'll end the game. And so we add things up, and he has 854 to my 624. He's up by 230, and in this system, the way they had the victory points going, you need to win by 201 to get, 11-9. So by 29 points, Warriors go up 11-9. And basically, if I could have killed that chariot, it would have been a draw. If my Photogork hadn't killed my caster, it would have been a draw. So many little things. But there's other things today. I think I passed 3-5 leadership test on my Biggins from his Hell Cannon. So a lot of rolls went my way, a lot of rolls went his way. I know this guy does really good in the tournament, so I feel really good about the 11-9. And so thank you guys for listening to another battle report. This was kind of an odd one with Warriors and Orcs not really going toe-to-toe, but trying to shoot magic at each other. I feel like I probably could have done a few things differently, but I am happy about 11 versus 9. And I'm happy because he comes in. He winds up coming in 4th overall, but 2nd for best general. So he does really well. So I think I'd like to think maybe I did the best against him that anybody else did, coming out with 11-9, because he has 67 battle points, so he got 56 after he played me. But I hope you guys did enjoy watching this, and feel free to comment and like, make any suggestions. And soon I'll have game 2 up. That'll be versus Vampire Counts, and his comp 13. So it's kind of a little bit higher comp than I was really expecting to face, because I thought it was going to be plus or minus 2, but I think they had a little bit of problems trying to match people up. So you guys take it easy, and I'll see you next time.